Costa Rica, a Central American country located between Nicaragua and Panama, is known for being one of the most biodiverse places on the planet, with about 5% of the globe's species in an area about the size of West Virginia. Because of this and its other attractive qualities, Costa Rica has become a popular tourist destination among Latin American countries. However, Costa Rica is also one of the most expensive destinations in Central America due to factors like tourism and importation. Although Costa Rica is not your typical budget destination, there are plenty of things that you can do in Costa Rica that don't cost an arm and a leg. So, in this video, I have listed my top 10 favorite things that I did in Costa Rica that you can do too, and they are great value. Hi, my name is Caitlin, and I just spent this summer studying abroad in Costa Rica for 6 weeks. I spent every weekend traveling throughout Costa Rica and was able to experience some of Costa Rica's most popular destinations. I learned a lot about traveling effectively without a lot of money, and my goal is to share those tips with you so you can travel too. Alright, so let's get right into the list, and so we're starting off with Manuel Antonio National Park. Manuel Antonio National Park is listed as one of the most visited national parks in Costa Rica, and for a good reason. It is located on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica and is known for its beautiful beach and opportunities for seeing wildlife. There are a lot of different tours that you can choose to do in and around Manuel Antonio National Park, but simple admission is just about $16 per person if you're not a resident. And you'll have to choose a specific time slot because Manuel Antonio restricts the amount of people entering at a specific time in order to prevent overcrowding. I went with a large group of other students, and our program fee paid for our group tour guides, which spotted animals like sloths and crabs for us to see with a telescope and gave information about the ecosystem found in Manuel Antonio. While the information from the tour guides were interesting, a lot of my peers agreed that the park would have been a little bit more fun if they could enjoy it on their own. This is actually a great thing because tour guides can cost anywhere from $30 additional per person if you do a group tour, or $100 additional per person if you have a private tour. And because there's so many animals in Manuel Antonio, you're not going to have any issues seeing those monkeys and sloths just on your own. Overall, a $16 entrance fee to one of the most famous and beautiful national parks in Costa Rica is a steal, and I would have loved to spend an additional day in Manuel Antonio Park. I think Manuel Antonio is definitely a bucket list destination if you are going to Costa Rica. Next, if you're looking for something to do on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, Cahuita National Park is a beautiful place to visit, and admission is actually free if you go through the main entrance. However, donations are encouraged because all donations go towards the conservation efforts in Cahuita. Cahuita is known for its white sand beaches, coral reefs, and walking trails through the jungle. My friends and I walked 4 miles on a trail that followed the coast of the beach, and we saw a lot of other animals, from monkeys, lizards, a snake, and a raccoon. Snorkeling is a pretty popular option that people usually like to do in Cahuita. However, the park requires that you have a tour guide with you if you want to snorkel. Some of my friends in my study abroad group decided to go snorkeling, and it costs about $40 per person. There are also additional things you can pay for in Cahuita, such as tour guides and kayaking tours. However, I actually enjoyed the aspect of getting to go through the national park without having a tour guide, and it's so pretty, you're not going to have any lack of things to do there. Like the many other national parks in Costa Rica, Cahuita is a great budget-friendly way to explore Costa Rica's Caribbean coast and jungle, and it's free to enter. Another thing that you can do for free in Costa Rica is hike on some of Costa Rica's most popular trails. And if you want the extra adventure, go before sunrise. My study abroad program was based in San Jose, so a group of us decided to do a sunrise waterfall hike about 30 minutes from where we were staying. Even though it was raining, we got up at 1:30 a.m., took an Uber, and hiked a summit called Pico Blanco. The hike was quite difficult, especially since the rain made it very muddy and it was hard to see, but the view of San Jose from the top was worth it. And we made lots of memories as we were all struggling to trek to the 7,451 feet peak of Pico Blanco in the dark. Once we made it all the way back down at about 8 a.m., some of us did a creek and waterfall trail right next to the trailhead of Pico Blanco, which is also very fun and a good way to wash off the mud. Surprisingly, this free excursion ended up being one of my favorite Costa Rican activities, which really does go to show that you don't need a lot of money to have fun while traveling. Also, when I got back, I looked online and saw that for some people, they pay $125 to hike to Pico Blanco because they think they need a guide, but that's really not necessary. It's safe and the trail is relatively marked well. Next, one of Costa Rica's most popular destinations is La Fortuna Waterfall and Arenal Volcano National Park. The 246 feet tall waterfall is an iconic must-see if you enjoy swimming near waterfalls. There are a lot of steps to reach the waterfall, I think about 530, which is definitely something to note if you are not a fan of stairs. Of course, the view is worth it, and the 530 steps to La Fortuna was nothing in comparison to the intensity of Pico Blanco. Also, like other excursions, there's opportunities to pay for additional things such as horseback riding to La Fortuna, but if you just want a simple admission fee to do the steps and to see the waterfall and swim in it, it's going to be about $18 per person. If you are wanting to check off the typical Costa Rica bucket list, you will want to go to La Fortuna Waterfall and enjoy the surrounding area with the views of Arenal volcano. Another fun thing to do in Costa Rica, if you like sports, is attend a national football game or another sports event. I don't follow soccer very closely, but a group of us went to a friendly of Costa Rica against Uruguay. I can't say it was the most fun game in the world because the score was 0-0, but the tickets were pretty cheap, which were only $30 for access to multiple games, and it was a cool experience to get to see a game in another country. Also, don't be dumb like me, and if you do decide to go to a national Costa Rica game, leave your coins at home because they will be confiscated. Next, one thing that you have to do is visit a volcano. There are a lot to choose from in Costa Rica, but the one that I went to is called Irazú volcano, which is the highest one in Costa Rica and also one of the highest points, at about 11,260 feet. It's super accessible though, and you can actually drive all the way to the top of Irazú volcano. It's still technically qualified as an active volcano, but it's safe to visit. Irazú volcano is actually a national park and costs only about $15 for a non-resident. Also, apparently it can get pretty cold, below freezing at that altitude, but when I went, short sleeves were fine. Well, I thought Irazú volcano was very cool because I had never been to a volcano before. It's kind of a once and done thing because there's not much else to do other than take photos or walk around the ash-covered ridge. Full-day tours that include transportation from San Jose, lunch, and entrance to one of Costa Rica's botanical gardens are in the range of about $110 per person if you want to make a full day out of Irazú volcano. But you can also just explore the nearby old capital city of Cartago. If you enjoy immersing yourself in foreign cities, then one thing that you can do is go shopping in downtown San Jose. And of course, the price of this activity is all going to depend on how much self-control you have to not buy things. There are a lot of fun shops to look at downtown, and I found it to be relatively safe, of course taking proper precautions. One popular spot is Mercado Central, which has souvenirs, food stands, and other small stores. One thing to note though is that even in the less touristy spots of downtown, I still found the prices to be a little bit higher compared to other Central American countries that I've visited. If you're looking for souvenirs specifically, Municipal Craft Market is all Costa Rican souvenir shops. But if you're wanting to get the best deals, be sure to go near the end of the day, because after going a couple of times, I realized that you can usually bargain for cheaper prices when they are about to close, usually about 6 p.m. There's so much to look at and so many restaurants to try that it would not be hard to spend an entire day downtown, especially with the nearby museums, which is going into my 8th point. There are a lot of museums that you can go to for a good price, especially if you are a student. I visited several museums in Costa Rica, including the Jade Museum, the National Museum, and a museum about the Irazú volcano. The prices are not the best, but most offer student discounts. For example, the National Museum offers pricing at about $11 for non-residents, but $6 if you're a student. And the Jade Museum costs about $16 for regular non-resident adults, but $5 if you're a student. Next, if you are adrenaline seeking, there are Canopy Tours with everything from bungee jumping to ziplining to Tarzan swings, and even though it's not necessarily budget friendly, it is a lot cheaper than the United States. For example, I went to Monteverde Extremo Park, which includes 11 cables, some over 500 feet high, a Tarzan swing, an aerial Superman zipline, a subterranean Superman zipline, and also includes rappel for only $67. Even though it's one of the highest priced activities on the list in this video, I still included it because a tour of this magnitude, which took about 3 hours and had lots of fun things involved, would cost so much more in the United States. I think other much more basic tours in the United States can be over $150, at least around where I live in the southeast. Also, the options in the US are nowhere near as long or as high as the ones in Monteverde, so I really don't think it can compare. And finally, if you are wanting to visit Costa Rica on a budget, take advantage of the many gardens, trails, and parks that they have to offer. For example, I visited Lancaster Botanical Gardens, which cost about $10 per person and $7.50 for students. We went with a tour guide, but it would have been very enjoyable just walking through the gardens on your own, because it was a surprisingly big garden. So those are my top 10 favorite things that I did in Costa Rica that you can do too on a budget. Costa Rica is a beautiful country, and although it can be a bit expensive if you go all out on vacation mode, There are plenty of things that you can do in Costa Rica that do not cost a fortune. Be sure to subscribe for more budget travel tips, and if you are a student and are interested in studying abroad, even for free, then check out my video in the description. And until then, thank you for watching and catch you later.